Hi, today I'm going to shoot a video about how to add hydraulic fluid to a 2000 Monaco Windsor for the jack system. So currently with the leveling jacks, they're a little bit low, and when I turn corners with the RV it makes a sound like the jacks are down. So in looking through the manual, it says to fill up the reservoir, but the manual doesn't tell you anything about where the reservoir is or that kind of information. So after doing some research and talking to Monaco, I've finally figured out where it is. And so I was going to help the people out there who might be in the same situation by showing them. So in order to put the fluid into the system, first thing I need to do is I need to air up the suspension. And the reason I need to do that is because I need to raise up 2 of the 3 jacks all the way and then leave one of them at least 6 inches down before I'm able to open and fill up the reservoir. So first things first, need to air up the coach. Hey, so I found where the reservoir is, and if you look down here, so to get to the reservoir, what I need to do is I needed to open the front generator panel. So you'll see this is our Onan generator. And so I just slide this out, and then you can see various mechanical pieces and parts around here, wiring, that kind of thing. And down here, there's a container, a metal container, and next to it are 3 little, I call them little spigots, but they're basically little valves. And those 3 valves correspond to 3 thick tubes that come out of here, lines, and those go to each of the jacks.
Where?
So these are the 3 tubes that go to the leveling jacks, and these are the 3 screws or 3 valves that are used. So if for some reason we lose power to the jack system, then you can open those valves and it'll relieve the pressure, and the pressure is what keeps the jacks down. And once that pressure is relieved, your jacks will come up. So that way, at the very least, you'll never be stuck with jacks that can't go up. You'll only be stuck with jacks that go down. One thing to mention is
that can't go down, you mean?
Or that can't go down, right? Because you just want to make sure that no matter what, you can drive in your RV. So it's better to have them stuck up than stuck down, because then you can't go anywhere. So on top of the container down here, there is
Where's the container?
Plug.
I don't see it.
It's back here. It's in back of the wiring. If you go towards the side of the vehicle, it basically extends out that way towards the...
How will you get to it to pour stuff in it?
So I can reach in right here.
Okay.
And I can take off the container lid.
The lid, not the container.
No, not the container, the lid. And I'm using a paper towel because this is
dirty,
and it might have some residual transmission fluid on it. I don't really want that stuff on my hands. So you'll see here's the super dirty cap.
Wait,
and then
there's the super dirty cap.
Super dirty cap. And
okay, and there's the open cap. So those are the 3 valves, and that's the open cap. And then he's getting the hydraulic fluid to put in there. So he's turning on the ignition so that it will beep on the inside of the RV, and our son is inside and he's going to tell us once it stops beeping, because that means that there's enough fluid in it.
Okay, so
real scientific system.
Yeah, that's what the manual says, and this is going to be really tricky because it's hard to reach. I don't have a funnel this small.
Well, we do, but it's for food. We're not going to do that.
So I might end up spilling some. Oops. So now I'm slowly pouring it in. Ideally what would happen is the beeping in the background you might be able to hear will stop.
I can't hear it.
Oh, I can.
You can?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the camera will hear it.
Right. Just trying to see better. Make sure I'm pouring it in. Looks like I'm pouring it in. There's no big puddle underneath yet.
That's good.
Yeah.
It's good when there's not a big puddle forming underneath. Oh, I kind of hear it.
So this is really low. But
Yeah,
the system's not working
it's
that great.
still beeping.
I know, but how low were we? Jeez.
Maybe empty.
Well, if we were empty, it wouldn't work.
Oh, at all?
'Cause it uses
it's
this-
kind of hasn't been working very well.
Oh, it went off. The beeping has ended. Holy cow. It worked. My son just came out to say, hey, the beeping stopped. So I could hear it, thankfully. Yeah, it stopped beeping. So apparently the instructions were correct, which is always a good feeling. And so I didn't even use the entire container. I used most of it though. So we were down quite a bit. So one of the reasons that this kind of jumped out at me when I was looking at the manual was we were having a jack that was slowly raising up. And the Monaco tech on the phone told me that what would really probably work, well, assuming there's no leaks to the system, so if there was a leak and the fluid was falling out, then it would never be able to create the pressure to keep the jacks down. The other thing he mentioned is because of those manual shutoff valves, that it's possible that those maybe don't tighten all the way, or they're not tightened all the way, or they're leaking a tiny bit, and that's why it slowly loses pressure on the jacks. And so one of my jacks, the back rear one, the right rear, was slowly moving up. So in about a week, it went up this much.
It was the driver's side rear?
No, the passenger side rear.
Oh, the passenger
The back
side.
right.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I do it from like if I'm sitting in the driver's seat, that
Okay.
perspective. So.
I was doing it from if I was facing the RV.
Well, if you look at the jacks.
But that's why,
yeah.
I specified
Yeah.
passenger driver's side.
On the jack panel, it actually lists this side as the right. So that's also.
Okay.
And so, so what he told me to do is basically open and close those valves a couple times. And there's 3 of them. I have no idea which one is the rear right. So I just did it to all 3. And then also, though, the reason that this came up is because in the manual it says, oh, by the way, if you're driving and you make a turn and you hear beeping, then it means your fluid is low. Because I guess what happens is as I turn, the fluid gets to a level to where the jack system starts to think that it's driving with the jacks down. So it starts to beep, this warning beep. So
How long was that happening for?
probably as long as we've had the RV at this
Oh my
point.
goodness. No wonder our
Well, I
fluid
didn't-
was so low.
I thought it was like a proximity alarm. You know, meaning like, hey, you're close to a curb, or hey, you're close to a vehicle.
We bought the RV used, obviously, so
Yeah,
we
we
didn't
bought
know.
it used, and so
We're
this
learning.
whole process has been
We've
how
only had it
do you
several years now. I don't-
teach yourself. Yes. Yeah. Hint number 1: if you can do it, read the manual. It's very informative. Now, granted, it might be like an encyclopedia where it's best used for if you have a specific situation, you look it up. But after owning the RV for a couple of years, I find like little gold nuggets in there, and I'm like, oh right, that's how you do this, or
Yeah.
oh, that's where this thing is.
And
So.
and you call Monaco all the time.
I do, but unfortunately, so here's the drawback with Monaco
Right.
is that they went out of business in I think like 2014, 2013, and they were purchased by Holiday Rambler.
Right before we bought our
which
RV.
is- yeah, well, so what happened is we bought the RV. They went out of business, and we bought the RV.
Rude.
However, they were acquired by the Rev Group, so they make like Holiday Rambler and stuff like that. So if you look for Monaco support, you can call. You can get parts. Parts are great. I've ordered multiple parts for this RV, and I used to be able to call and get great support from them. However, about a year or 2 after we purchased the RV, when I would call them for support, I would get the call routed to Oregon, and those guys knew everything. They built the coaches there. They did there was a service center in Oregon, like one of their 2 main ones.
Yeah.
And what happened is Rev Group basically downsized that whole
Not cool,
support
Rev Group. Not cool.
wing of the company. So they basically let every Monaco expert go. So now when you call support, I'm always told, well, we don't really know Monaco. They didn't really give us any information. and things like that.
Shame.
And the subject matter experts who were around were all either
let go,
moved to other parts of the company, or let go, or something like that. So I'm never able to find an expert. So like in this case, the guy, thankfully, it was one of the few things he did know about Monaco coaches was where this container was. So, score. But the flip side is I've called them many times with things, and they just say, I don't know.
If you know of any Monaco experts, leave them in the comments below, because it would definitely be helpful for anyone else watching this video for sure.
Yeah.
And
it's like I
if
said,
you know
Monaco,
of any that have like a sort of side business going on where you can call them up for support or whatever, that would be amazing.
So yeah, I mean, the Rev Group is great for parts. So like I said, if you just give them the VIN number and you ask about the part, and very rarely, I can only think of one time where they didn't have the part, and that was for the shield. We actually have a RV shield in the front that I had to take off in order to take out this compartment.
We should clean that before we put it back on.
Yeah. And so
that's filthy.
there's some parts from here that I couldn't get, but Monaco didn't make that, so it was just kind of an added feature.
Oh yeah,
that was put
if
on
you
by
know
the
where to
company.
get the keys.
I've been told where to get them. They're from Airplane Supply Parts.
Airplane supply.
Yeah. So I've just never.
Where do you get airplane supplies?
I'm sure the interwebs tell you.
The internet will tell us.
Well, yeah. So I'm just gonna close this up and put the jacks back down and hope that they stay down.